Have you ever jumped into something, a course, a program, art lessons, whatever it happens to be, and you're motivated and you're excited and you bought all the things and you have all the gear, and then something happens? Something happens along the way that prevents you from going, from showing up, from reaching whatever goal it is you set out when you signed up for the thing. Gym memberships are one of my favorites. Sign up for the gym membership. We're going to go 5 times a week. And then the membership sits there unused. When people sign up for learning, they want to make a change. And so courses are no different. In this video, we are going to cover why that shift happens and what, as course creators, we can do about it. Hi, I'm Dr. Catrina Mitchum, and I have been designing and redesigning courses online since 2009. So how do they come to you? When someone signs up for the course, they're motivated. They want to do this. They want a change. Most people enroll in a course or sign up for a workshop because there is something that they want to change. They want to learn something in order to make that change happen. So then what gets in the way and how do we fix it? So there are 3 big things that kind of put up those hurdles. Overwhelm, time, and life. So we're going to cover overwhelm first. People get overwhelmed in 2 different ways. One, with your course. And that could be because there's too much content and not enough action. It can be because the delivery of the content isn't done in a way that they can understand or that they're being prompted to engage with it. And so they're being overwhelmed with information. When they come up against a task that's difficult and there's no support, that can be overwhelming. That can be a thing that becomes a hurdle. The second area is that people can be overwhelmed with life, right? And life overwhelm is a hurdle that exists. It's something that is more difficult to overcome as a course creator and help them through, but there are things that you can do to give them their best chance of getting over the hurdle. They might kick the hurdle over as they're going, but it can be something that you help them with, maybe help lower the hurdle. So onboarding hurdles. I've talked about onboarding before, but having very clear and specific instructions on how to get started and where to get started and how to find help. Those are the key onboarding pieces that sometimes are missing, right? So I had a client who was missing how to get in touch. While a lot of us have sort of automated systems to help with that onboarding, if those systems are not set up in a way that makes it easy to begin with, or something breaks, then we have a breakdown in the onboarding process. Onboarding also shouldn't be jumping in and getting started. It really should be an orientation. Thinking about it like an orientation means that you are, giving them the lay of the land. It's the first day of class. You're telling them what's in the syllabus, what we're going to do, where things are in the room. It's all of the kind of logistics things of being able to complete the course, how things are going to work. In terms of content, you want to make sure that it's slim. It is only the necessary content to complete the actions or to give background information, right? Because sometimes there's things that people need support with that aren't initially actionable, but they'll be actionable throughout the rest of the course. So making sure that you're not just giving a bunch of information just because you know the information is going to be important. And that is related to staying focused. So helping them stay focused. You can do that in your course design, which we'll go over in another video, but you can also do that with kind of prompting. So these can also be automated, but very specific, like, hey, this is a point at which people tend to struggle. Is this something you need extra support with? And this is going to come down to you really knowing your client and knowing your content and knowing your subject area. And I think all of these things are kind of leading up to the support point, which there's going to be a whole other video on support, but making sure that there is support in the right places at the right time in order to help lower those hurdles when things are overwhelming, whether that's overwhelm from the course or overwhelm from the things that you cannot control in your course. And that's going to be a big one for considering overwhelm and the fact that the people in your course are humans, is that there's only so much that you can control. But the goal is going to be for you to lower as many or knock down as many of those hurdles as you can in your course to create a space where they can get the best outcome. Okay, the second thing that gets in the way is time. Like I've said in the last video, time is one I like to treat separate because how you feel time, right, can change from person to person, from context to context. It's an important hurdle to try to remove if you can, or provide better expectations for. So how do time hurdles happen? Time hurdles happen because we are terrible at anticipating, one, how much time we actually have, two, how much time things are going to take. Most people are not great at either one of those things, especially when it comes to learning. So when I have put out surveys before asking how much time do you have in a week, a lot of people will say about 10 hours. And then when I ask kind of the next layer of question, like, when on your Monday are you going to spend time on this course? Usually there's like 30 minutes, maybe an hour that they can pick out. And so that means that the math, when you look at all 7 days, the math isn't quite mathing, because initially we're like, oh yeah, I've got, plenty of time to do it when I'm eating dinner. But in reality, it isn't something that we would do. The second way that time can become a hurdle is underestimating the time and energy and effort that learning actually takes, right? So people want a quick fix. You can't change that people want a quick fix, but learning is a process that isn't going to be fast or easy. Like, we know that from learning science. We know that there needs to be a little bit of challenge, and that challenge needs to take just enough effort that it feels worthwhile to do and to learn and to use the information. And so the time that it takes can sometimes get in the way, right? If they're not prepared for it, if they're not mentally anticipating having to spend extra time or some extra effort. And so we don't necessarily remove that hurdle because it's a hurdle necessary for learning, but the thing that we remove is that anticipation that it's going to be fast, that it's going to be easy, and in place put that it's going to be doable. Okay, so how do we adjust for those things? We adjust for it with laying out immediately time estimates, and that could be time estimates for the whole course. Like, you could, if you had 30 hours a week, do this course in 3 weeks. Or more realistically, if you have a bajillion things going on, you could probably spend 3 to 5 hours a week. It's going to take you this long. So just being upfront about those things from the beginning can set them up for success. Then they can make the decision, right? Because they're grown-ass adults. But giving them an estimate lets them make an informed decision. You can also give estimates within the course. And so that's like, this might take you, and then give a range. Never say it will take you this amount of time, but give a range of time that it's going to take them, that could potentially take them, because that can help set up the expectations. And we will talk about expectations in another video. I feel like I keep saying that. The second way that we can address the time hurdle is actually through feedback. When you're giving out the estimates, get feedback about how long it actually took them. And that could be like a quick one question, time range, just to make sure that what you're thinking about time aligns with what they're thinking about time. And if that works, if that's in alignment, then that's perfect. You can just leave it. But if you start to get things that are kind of wildly different, it means you're going to want to either readjust the expectation or look at the content again. Another way that you can adjust for the time hurdle is actually options. Giving options will let them choose something that feels like a lower lift in order to do the thing that's going to take them more time, right? So if you're asking them to do a specific activity and you only give one option or one choice, then they're kind of locked into something, even if it's not something they feel comfortable with. If that activity or the way you're asking them to do the task might feel like a jump on top of the jump of doing the learning. I do have a whole video on options if you haven't seen it. And then we can also account for the time hurdle, or remove the time hurdle, or lower the time hurdle is probably more likely, by providing support. And that doesn't have to be support in the way a lot of people frame support in courses. I have a whole video on support, but sometimes just knowing that the support is there is enough to help people stay motivated to create the time, to make the time, to take the time. Okay, and our third big thing is life just lifing. And this is really related to overwhelm and time. It's kind of the umbrella, I think, under which they both fall. But remembering that there are times when your course is just going to sit by the wayside. That's just how it is. But providing flexibility for those moments is what can help someone jump back in and do it when they're ready. So that could be things like having an automated system when someone hasn't logged in for a certain amount of time, an email gets populated. Hey, I noticed. Everything okay? It could be things like if you're running kind of a live course, allowing someone who has had some things coming up to just keep access to that content for longer, or to put things on a pause, right? Like, hey, I've got a move coming up. I need to pause for 2 months and then I'll be back. Giving those options for flexibility when life does happen can help your clients to actually be successful in the thing, even when things are hitting the fan. The thing that we do need to do when we're thinking about our clients as people is stop placing blame. So it isn't our fault when people have things that come up in their lives, but we can design courses that anticipate that and accommodate the fact that they're humans. And remembering that they didn't choose those things to happen either. I'm getting real tired of the you don't want it bad enough BS that is going around, specifically around courses and programs, because it's harmful. It's harmful to your business. It's harmful to them. Instead of telling people that are struggling that they're the problem, let's do what we can to support them in a way that's also sustainable for us, right? So it creates sustainability for our business if we can create spaces where people can be successful no matter what happens. Does that mean everybody will be successful in your course? No, but we can certainly increase the percentage from 15 to something better. In next week's video, we're going to cover design hurdles. Design hurdles will actually help alleviate some of these people hurdles. So look out for it next week.